Subscribe to our channel to stay updated with gripping stories and eye-opening insights. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Short-sightedness or betrayal? How Uralvagonzavod survived against all odds. Picture this: a massive factory, the heart of Soviet tank building, teetering on the edge of collapse. Thousands of workers, unpaid for months, losing hope. Skilled engineers and designers walking away because there's no work, no future. This isn't a scene from a dystopian movie. It's the real story of Uralvagonzavod in the 1990s. But it's also a story of grit, bold decisions, and a refusal to give up. Today, I'm going to take you through the epic saga of how Uralvagonzavod not only survived but became a symbol of Russia's resurgent tank industry, despite efforts to bring it down. This isn't just about tanks. It's about people, choices, betrayal, and resilience. It's about how Russia's defense industry nearly crumbled under internal and external pressures, but managed to rise again. And it's a lesson in why believing in your own capabilities matters. Let's dive into this thrilling tale packed with intrigue, heroism, and economic twists. For American readers, I'll break it down in a way that resonates, connecting it to themes of industrial strength, national pride, and the risks of relying on foreign powers. In July 2025, two top Russian officials, Mikhail Mishustin and Sergei Shoigu, announced that Uralvagonzavod had boosted tank deliveries to the Russian army by more than 3 times. It was a moment of triumph, a reason to celebrate. But to grasp how monumental this achievement was, we need to rewind to the dark days of the 1990s, when everything hung by a thread. Back in 1995, Uralvagonzavod, the world's largest tank factory, was on the brink of bankruptcy. Russia's Ministry of Defense had slashed orders for new equipment to nearly zero. No, orders meant no money. Workers went unpaid for months, 7 months of back wages, to be exact. Imagine clocking in every day, knowing you can't put food on the table for your family. The factory owed massive debts to energy companies, gas suppliers, and the government. Skilled workers were leaving in droves, seeing no future. It was a disaster. Then, in June 1995, something wild happened. A factory test driver named Vasily Tropin, fed up with the hopeless poverty, did the unthinkable. He stole a T-72S tank right from the factory grounds. That's right, he drove a tank through the streets of Nizhny Tagil, a desperate cry for attention to the factory's plight. It was a bold, almost cinematic act of protest. Tropin was arrested, but public outcry and pleas from factory leadership got him released after just 3 days. His stunt became a symbol of how dire things had gotten. People were ready to do anything to shine a light on their struggle. Why did this happen? The 1990s in Russia were chaotic. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the country plunged into economic turmoil. Factories like Uralvagonzavod, once the pride of the Soviet military-industrial complex, were left to fend for themselves. But was this just a result of economic hardship, or was something more sinister at play? Some analysts and historians suggest that certain forces, both inside and outside Russia, were actively working to weaken its defense industry. Let's unpack this. To understand why Uralvagonzavod was in such a mess, let's look at the bigger picture of Russia in the 1990s. When the Soviet Union fell apart, Russia's economy went into freefall. Hyperinflation, mass privatization, and broken trade networks crippled the country. The government's coffers were empty, and industries like defense, once a top priority, were left to rot. According to Russia's central bank, inflation hit 2,600% in 1992. That's right, money lost value so fast you could barely keep up. Factories like Uralvagonzavod couldn't afford materials, pay workers, or invest in new tech. By 1995, government orders for military equipment had dropped by 90% compared to Soviet times. Per Ministry of Defense reports, the defense industry, which employed millions and fueled national security, was on life support. But it wasn't just economics. The 1990s were also a time when some Russian leaders bought into the idea of cozying up to the West. The Cold War was over, and NATO was pitched as a partner. Some politicians and military officials argued that Russia didn't need its own tanks anymore. Why not just buy from the West? Western technology was seen as cutting edge, while Russian designs were dismissed as outdated. Spoiler alert, this blind faith in Western partnership nearly cost Russia its entire defense industry. For American readers, think of it like this. Imagine if, during a tough economic period, the U.S. decided to shut down its defense contractors like Lockheed Martin or Boeing and started buying fighter jets from, say, France or Germany. It'd be a blow to national pride and security, right? That's exactly what Russia faced, and Uralvagonzavod was ground zero. In 1997, a new director, Nikolai Malik, took the helm at Uralvagonzavod. He inherited a factory on its last legs, 7 months of unpaid wages, massive debts to suppliers, and no orders in sight. Bankruptcy was looming. If the factory went under, it'd likely face the same fate as many others in the 1990s. A so-called effective manager would swoop in, sell off valuable equipment, and the plant would be dead. This wasn't just any factory. During World War II, Uralvagonzavod churned out T-34 tanks that helped win the war. Losing it would have been a tragedy. Malik refused to let that happen. With no hope of domestic orders from the cash-strapped Russian government, he made a bold move: focus on exports. It was a risky bet. In the 1990s, Russian military equipment wasn't exactly flying off the shelves globally. The biggest user of Russia's T-72 tanks was India, but the Indian military wasn't eager to buy more. Then, in 1998, an opportunity arose. After getting the green light from Russia's Ministry of Defense, Uralvagonzavod showed India a new tank, the T-90. It was an upgraded version of the T-72, packed with improvements. The Indians were intrigued, but laid down tough conditions, demanding serious upgrades to the design. The factory had to deliver a tank that didn't even exist yet, and fast. Creating the T-90S was nothing short of a miracle. The factory had no money, no time, and barely any resources. Yet the workers, from engineers to assembly line staff, poured their hearts into it. They worked around the clock to meet the deadline. By February 1999, the T-90S was ready to show off. It was a feat of sheer willpower. Tragically, in May of that year, the tank's chief designer, Vladimir Pakin, passed away. He was the genius behind the T-90, and his death hit the team hard. As the factory mourned, the first 3 T-90S tanks were being loaded onto military transport planes for testing in India. It was a bittersweet moment. Pakin's legacy was heading to the world stage, but he wouldn't see it. The tanks faced brutal tests in India's Rajasthan desert, enduring scorching heat and choking dust. They passed with flying colors. Soon after, India signed a contract to buy the T-90S. That deal was a lifeline for Uralvagonzavod, pulling it back from the brink. By 2001, India received 124 tanks, nicknamed Bhishma, meaning terrible or fearsome in Hindi. That same year, a new contract worth $1 billion was signed, securing orders for years and breathing new life into Russia's tank industry. The India deal didn't just save Uralvagonzavod. It kick-started a renaissance for Russian tank building. The factory got a cash infusion, modernized its production lines, and saved thousands of jobs. By 2010, Russia had exported over 1,500 T-90 tanks in various versions to countries worldwide. In a stunning turn, Russia even outmaneuvered the U.S. in markets like Egypt and Iraq, where American tanks had long dominated. Today, Uralvagonzavod produces the T-90M Prorив Breakthrough, widely regarded as one of the world's top tanks. It also upgrades older T-72B tanks to the T-72B 3M standard. This shows Russia's tank industry isn't just surviving, it's thriving. But let's step back and ask, why was it all at risk in the first place? Why did the Russian government nearly let its defense industry die in the 1990s? And why, in the 2010s, did some Russian generals start praising Western technology while bashing their own? In the 2010s, a new wave of criticism hit Russia's defense industry. Some high-ranking military officials, like General Postnikov, then head of Russia's ground forces, called the T-90 junk and said it couldn't compete with Western tanks like Germany's Leopard. Postnikov even claimed it'd be cheaper to buy 3 Leopards than 1 T-90. Here's the kicker. As of 2025, a Leopard 2 A6 costs 1.5 times more than a T-90M ProRiv. So what was he talking about? In 2010, Russia's Ministry of Defense halted funding for the promising Object 195 tank project, calling it outdated. That same year, Russia started buying Italian Iveco armored vehicles, known locally as Lynx. These were inferior to Russia's own Tiger vehicle in every way except maybe comfort, and they cost more. Also in December 2010, Russia signed a deal with France to build 2 Mistral helicopter carriers. These were the first times Russia bought major military equipment from NATO countries. Then came 2014. France backed out of the Mistral deal due to sanctions, despite Russia already paying up. It was a wake-up call. Relying on NATO partners was a risky game. For American readers, imagine the U.S. outsourcing its aircraft carriers to China, only for China to cancel the deal at the last minute. That's the kind of betrayal Russia faced. Let's break down what this all means. If Russia had kept buying Western equipment while letting its own industry die, it'd be at the mercy of foreign suppliers. In a conflict or under sanctions, that's a death sentence. No spare parts, no repairs, or worse, equipment rigged with backdoors that could shut it down remotely. Cybersecurity experts have warned about this for years. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, in the 2010s, Russia spent about $1 billion a year on arms imports. That's small compared to its overall defense budget, but it shows a shift toward Western reliance. If that trend had continued, factories like Uralvagonzavod might have closed for good. Thankfully, it didn't. The India deal and other export contracts gave Uralvagonzavod a second chance. Today, Russia's a global leader in arms exports. SIPRI reports that in 2024, Russia sold about $15 billion worth of weapons, with tanks and armored vehicles making up a big chunk. For Americans, this is a lesson in self-reliance. The U.S. prides itself on its defense industry, from Raytheon to General Dynamics. Imagine the fallout if those companies were gutted in favor of foreign suppliers. It's not just about jobs, it's about national security. Russia learned that the hard way. Uralvagonzavod's story isn't just about a factory. It's about people who refuse to give up. Workers toiling without pay. Engineers building a world-class tank against all odds. Leaders taking risks that paid off. It's a testament to human spirit and ingenuity. But it's also a story of betrayal. I can't help but call out those in the 2010s who pushed for Western equipment while dismissing Russia's own. Was it short-sightedness or something worse? I'm not here to judge, but the facts are damning. If Uralvagonzavod had gone under, Russia would have lost more than a factory. It would have lost a cornerstone of its independence. In today's volatile world, having your own defense industry isn't just about bragging rights. It's about survival. Uralvagonzavod proved Russia can not only survive but dominate. Uralvagonzavod's journey is a powerful reminder that grit, skill, and belief in yourself can overcome even the toughest odds. It's also a warning. Never let your guard down. Relying on foreign powers for critical technology is a recipe for disaster. Subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about Uralvagonzavod's comeback? Was buying Western equipment a mistake or just a desperate move? Let's talk about it. Together, we can dig deeper into what makes a nation strong and independent.